I told it 26 times, and that's enough for her. Yeah. So, growing up in a family of 7, I had incredible parents. I was born a stutterer, just like my dad, and so that caused a lot of anxiety for me. You know, wanting to raise my hand in class, but not wanting to because I couldn't get the word out. Walking across town because I didn't want to call somebody, just those little things. And so I knew that there were certain things in life that were just not going to be possible for me, and I continually told myself what those things were. They were anything to do with talking in front of people, trying to sell something, yes, and being in the spotlight at all. I spent my life trying to avoid that. And I got married to my wife because she was the aggressor. I didn't know what was going on at first. I did not date, I did not dance, I tried to avoid any type of social activities whatsoever. And she offered to help me okay, I'll tell this part of the story because this is kind of funny too. She called me to ask me out, and I said, I have to babysit my niece. And she said, I love babysitting. And I had something I could have gone to that night with my buddies. And so I said, really? Because I was hoping to go to this with my friends. Long, awkward pause. And then I said, did you mean with me? She said, yeah, I was kind of thinking with you. Oh, yes, of course, yes, that sounds great. I was so clueless. But she stayed with it, fortunately. And only 5 months after we got married, I started to get sick. All kinds of different things going on. And it turns out it was some parasites that I had gotten on a church mission that I served down in Brazil 2 years prior. And there's these certain parasites that come in dormant and then they wake up later. It was causing me all kinds of problems, and my mom found a tropical disease specialist at the University of Utah Hospital, which was a 6-hour drive from our home. And so I said goodbye to Shalane. She had to stay for her job, and I was going there for a 3-day treatment. And I went all the way to the hospital, I checked in, and the nurse checked me in on the first floor on just one of these little rooms with the curtains, and then she came back to get me, and she said, Derek, we're going to move you up to the 5th floor. Walked me up to the 5th floor, brought me into this corner suite with a view, nice big room. And I said, wow, thank you for the upgrade. She said, yeah, people with your type of leukemia always get their own rooms. I said, what? She said, yeah, you have acute myeloma. Ooh, that's the bad kind. And I see that they want to start chemotherapy tomorrow. And I said, no. I'm the parasite guy. Check your charts again. And she did. She verified my name and my date of birth and all that. And I still was convinced that it was some kind of mix-up. And then she asked me some more questions, and she looked down at the chart, and she looked at me, and she looked at the chart again, and then I saw that she recognized what she had done. You just got here today, huh? Yeah, just a second, I'll be right back. Left. I was sitting in the room all by myself going, that's impossible, clearly. I have parasite, I don't have leukemia. After about 30 minutes, this train of doctors came into my room. And then I thought, maybe they know something I don't. And they confirmed that I had leukemia and that I was fortunate to be there at the timing that I was, and they found it because of the other treatment that I was going to get. So I had both, yes. And I called Shalane and told her, and that was obviously a moment that changed our lives forever. Now we can look back and see it really, truly as one of the best things that happened to our marriage and to us and to our family. We both wanted to know, of course, what that would mean to the possibilities of us having children, and the doctors said, well, we don't have any documented case of somebody getting this type of chemotherapy and having children. And I have 5 here on the boat that are the first documented cases. And so for this type of chemotherapy, it would get the chemotherapy, which in case you don't know, I thought that chemotherapy was going into like a huge microwave oven and the lights are going to come out, and just cook but no, it's really just a controlled bag of poison. And they hang it on the pole there and it drips in me for 6 days. While it's coming in, I felt relatively fine, but it's the 3 weeks afterwards where they have to take you to the brink of death to try to basically kill all the cells in your body, hoping that the cancer cells also don't come back with it. And so it did. It killed every cell. And in fact, on my toenails, I have a line of dead for each round of chemotherapy that I had. And those are my little tokens. But it's in those moments that I learned some of my best lessons in life, and I made some of the best friends that I ever made. Because I had to live in the hospital for 4 months and 1 day. I went through those treatments faster than they thought that I could, and it was because I was being so blessed. I made several friends, one of whom name was Greg Johnston. He was a cowboy from Vernal, Utah. And he came in there and he said, "Derek, I don't got time for this. I just like to get drunk and fight." And he said, and they usually happen in that order, actually. And I said, "Greg, well, you won't be doing either of those for a while here." And we became just the type of friends that you can form when you're in a foxhole together. And our nurses, he was in room 522 and I was in room 521. And we would spend a lot of time together. And this was during the fall, so it was football season, and our nurses would track our calories, and we'd be at like 500 calories for the whole week. And then it was Monday Night Football, and we would consume Taco Bell and nachos, and chips and salsa and mint Mentos, about 3,000 calories worth. And the nurses would gather around. "I don't understand. Look at this. He's on his 6th taco." And we couldn't explain it either. But those were the nights where we formed a friendship and a bond, that I won't ever forget. And all the things that were going right for my treatments, they went wrong for him. He had a brain aneurysm and a stroke. And he was always going down to the ICU, and he would come back and he would always joke with me about what had happened. And there was one time that somebody else came into his room. And so I had to go meet this person. And I chatted with him, and his name was also Greg. And we chatted for about a half an hour. And I left the room, and a nurse said, "He doesn't look very good, does he, Derek?" And I said, "What?" And she said, "That's Greg." And I had just chatted with my friend for half an hour, and I didn't recognize him because he was emaciated and just a shell of himself. And I went back in and I said, "Greg, what the heck were you doing?" He's like, "I thought you were having some kind of problems with your treatments." He said, "I don't want you to feel bad. You were asking me all this stuff that you already know about me." And that was one of the times that he said, "Derek, you know I'm not going to make it, don't you?" And I said, "No." And there's a guilt that comes over a person who is surviving that is real. And I would always feel bad when I was doing well and he wasn't. And he would tell me about probably the biggest regret of his life, that he had caused an accident when his girlfriend was pregnant with their daughter, and so he was not able to keep the child, and he wanted his daughter to know how he felt about her, and he would ask me to find her for him, and then he would say, "And you, Derek, are going to live for us both, and you're going to do something great." And I remember every time when he would say that, how I felt. I would immediately think about the fact that I stuttered, and I would say, well, I can't really do something great. And so I would just try to change the subject. And then after 4 months, I went home. And that first month home was glorious. It's like you can re-experience life and the small things for the first time. Could feel the wind in my face, could eat a hamburger without feeling nauseous. So many of those simple pleasures, I just thoroughly enjoyed them for that month. But I was constantly thinking about Greg and how he was doing. I went back to the hospital for my first checkup after 30 days, and I went into the clinic to get my blood drawn, and I broke out in these hives from head to toe, these little bumpy red hives. And my doctor came in and I said, "Dr. Glenn, what's happening to me?" And she said, "Oh, yeah, I think that's just your body not wanting to be back here." And there wasn't any medical reason for it. I didn't want to be back there. Because there was a recognition for being back on that floor that went deep into the subconscious. I can still go back to that place, which is not that place where they treat cancer anymore, because now, if you know Utah, there's a Huntsman Cancer Institute that they built, which is one of the finest. But I can go back to those particular rooms and close my eyes, and just all the memories can come back. From the smells, from the smell of the sheets, I can hear the jingle of the food cart. And I can just have so many memories coming back. And so I was back there. Greg was not there. He was down in the ICU. And I went down there and I got into all the smocks, and his dad was there, so I knew that it was serious, that it was close to the end. And I got down next to his bedside, and I grabbed his hand and I said, "Greg," because I was feeling really guilty about the month that I had just had. I said, "Greg, please, can you make it up to the floor one more time?" And he squeezed back stronger than I thought he would. And he said, "Derek, it's all right. It's all right." And he said, "But you haven't promised me yet. You're going to do something great, right?" And I said, "Yes, I will." And I immediately felt even more guilt, because I felt extremely limited in what I could do. I had already decided that I was going to be a computer programmer, because come to find out later when I went to some of my stuttering clinics, that's the most common profession that we choose. It's just you and the code and the monitor. No people. And you know, this was the days before cell phones, and so I would truly just get in the zone. I would put the headphones on, I would just be hearing the Enya and writing code all day, and I'd go, "Oh, it's time to go home." And I settled into life, and we had children, of course, and I had two joys in life. It was my family, and it was basketball. And I was playing all kinds of City League basketball and stuff. And in fact, I got a job in part because I could play basketball. They asked a lot about that during the interview process. I didn't know the type of coding that they did there, but they weren't too concerned about that, because they had a team at this company. And we would go and play and have a practice every day for 2 hours during lunch. And so I thought that was the greatest job ever, because it just brought everything that I loved into one place there. And it was during one of those lunches where God helped me remember the promise that I had made. And I was playing against my boss, who was really good, and he got me to jump up in the air, and I jumped and I came down, and my head hit the top of his head, just perfect, boom.